Dear friend, it's conference season, and many tech professionals from around the world will be preparing to attend events in the hope of expanding their knowledge and building their network. However, let's celebrate the effort that the speakers put into preparing for these events. So, speakers, I salute you. For some, it will be their first time public speaking, which can be a nerve-wracking experience. Even for seasoned speakers, it's never easy standing up in front of your professional peer group and sharing your insights. I personally know too well the benefits of public speaking at tech conferences. I have to say, my career skyrocketed from the moment I started my public speaking journey. So if you're sat at home and thinking about attending a conference this year, but not quite sure of the benefits, or if you're thinking about speaking at a future event, then this episode is for you. I caught up with my good friend Stuart Mullinger, who is a seasoned business analyst and is speaking at the IRM European Business Analysis Conference in September. In this conversation, I wanted to explore his experiences as a speaker, as well as getting a sneak peek into his talk that he'll be delivering. So I hope you enjoy this conversation.
From the city of Peaky Blinders, Birmingham, England, I would like to introduce you to Paddy Dandar.
As the world becomes more automated and the robots take over, it's imperative that we build the right human skills for the future. So pull up a chair, grab a samosa or two, and make yourself very uncomfortable. Hey Stu, so good to see you. I know we bumped into each other not too long ago. It was just the other week at a book launch, and it was so nice to re-engage. On this particular episode, which superpower would you like to bring?
Hi, good morning, Paddy. Yeah, so my superpower is really helping people build and grow the BA community and get involved to elevate their career, elevate the BA profession.
Oh, brilliant. So I can remember many years ago now, I won't reveal my age, but I remember when I first started to engage with the BA community, and I was a little bit apprehensive at first because I didn't know where this was going to lead and what were the possibilities in terms of how it could benefit me. In many ways, I just thought about it as being a place where a bunch of people come along and they just chat about stuff. And how wrong was I? Because it's certainly helped me in lots of different ways. Now, I'd love to explore some of the aspects of the benefits and how people can get involved. But I want to know, like, your journey with the BA community. How did you get involved with it?
Yeah, so similar to how you'd seen it yourself as well. So I've been a BA for 20 years. And for a lot of that time, I've been a member of both IIBA, the International Institute of Business Analysis, and BCS, the Chartered Institute for IT. And all I'd done every year was just renew my membership because it felt like something I ought to do as a BA. And I never went to events, and I never connected with any other BAs. And of course, working as a BA, quite often you're the only BA either in your organization or the only BA on your project as well. So you quite often don't spend a lot of time talking to other people that do the same work as you. And I've plodded along like that for years. And again, I thought that those that were out there talking about business analysis were possibly just a bit nerdy or, a bit keen. But it really struck me, though, at the start of the pandemic, so early 2020, I'd finished the last contract that I'd been on. And so I was feeling really isolated. I was at home. I wasn't working with other people. And I really felt I needed to talk to some other BAs out there. And one of the few good things to come out of the pandemic was, of course, so many more events and everything suddenly had to go online, which meant they became accessible wherever you were in the country or in the world. And I was suddenly able to access different webinars, different discussion forums, and things like that really hadn't been there before, or I'd certainly not come across them. And I started recognizing some of the people that I was seeing again and again in these events. So you go to a few webinars and you'd see the comments in the Zoom chat, and you'd start recognizing some of those names from last time, and maybe you'd start dipping your toe in joining that conversation in the chat. That led to connecting with some people on LinkedIn, following up the conversation. I thought that was really interesting what you said about X. And my network just started building up a bit. Probably the real thing that made a difference. So I started attending IIBA UK's Brown Bag sessions, which is a online discussion, free format chat session once a week in a lunch break. And I started going to that regularly and building relationships there. I found those conversations really rewarding because they were about real business analysis, kind of not what it looks like in the training or in the exams or the job descriptions. What does practicing business analysis really look like and those challenges we face? I found those sessions hugely rewarding. And I got tricked into becoming a volunteer with IIBA to start hosting those sessions. I was attending regularly. They were looking for people that could act as a host. And I thought, well, if I'm going to be there anyway, I might as well host. Things snowballed. I became a regular volunteer with IIBA. I did 2 years as their communities director for my local region, and now just really active in the BA community. I've met hundreds of BAs to talk to. I think I must be addicted to hearing all those different experiences people have and just finding it really rewarding.
Oh, fantastic. And I was another one who got tricked into becoming a volunteer with the IOBA. But I have to say, it was all good. And I am so glad I did it as well. So I hear you on that. Now, Stu, you're doing a talk at the European BA conference, which is coming up later this year. And I love the title of your talk. Would you just share that with us and just give us a little bit of an insight into some of the things that people can expect that you'll cover in that talk?
Yeah, so it's no more FOMO, getting involved in the business analysis community. So FOMO, fear of missing out. And yeah, it speaks to that feeling that everyone else is enjoying the party, that there's this world of business analysis that you're shut outside of. And so what I'm going to be talking about is, what is that community? What does it consist of? Where do you find it? And what are the benefits of being part of a community in business analysis? So there's all of those great professional benefits, elevating your career, building your skills, the advantages of building that network. On a personal side, just having that support network out there. I've made so many great buddies in the BA world since I started getting involved, and it's really useful because you've got people you can reach out to if you've got questions about something. If you just want to whinge about the awful day you've had, that meeting that went really badly, you've got people that will get it, and you don't have to burden your other half with some of those things as well. So yeah, all of those great benefits, and also the value to the BA profession of having a strong and thriving BA community as well. The fact that through sharing our knowledge and experiences, we're building our professionalism, we're building our standards, we're able to talk much more fluently about business analysis and what good business analysis needs. What does it need in an organization for effective business analysis to happen and to be unlocking value? And the final part of my talk is really going to be about how you can get involved. If you're like I was, someone that just wasn't involved, didn't have a network, possibly working by yourself as well, so you haven't even got other BAs in your workplace, how can you start dipping your toe in the water? How can you start building connections? How can you join the conversation? And then how, if you want to, how can you go on to help build that community and strengthen it for the future?
I think that's amazing in that you're covering so many different aspects of a community, and it doesn't matter whether you are a BA, because all of these things apply equally to probably any profession. So I think all of those learning points are equally applicable to all of us, regardless of profession. Now, one of the ways people can get involved with any kind of community or professional community is by speaking, as you are at the conference. But it is quite daunting for anyone who hasn't done that. I remember the first time I did it, I was very shy of the fact that, why do people want to listen to me? And why should they care about what I have to say? And it was only after a good colleague of mine twisted my arm and she said, just do it. We want to hear your stories. We want to hear some of your experiences, that I'm so glad I did it, because afterwards it really opened my eyes in terms of the value that not only I was getting, but other people were getting. So if somebody out there is thinking, well, I've always fancied speaking at a conference, but never really had the confidence to do it. I mean, you've been through that process. What advice would you have for someone out there?
Well, firstly, I'd say, yes, just go for it. But that's much easier said than done, isn't it? Because it can be really daunting. I think, yeah, if you've never done public speaking, and I know a lot of people in the BA world quite introverted or quite shy, and putting themselves at the front of a room terrifies them. And what I would say is, and I've heard other people in the BA world say this as well, but BAs are a fantastic audience to speak to, so that they want you to succeed, and they'll be really encouraging and really grateful for hearing from you. You can start small. You don't have to leap into speaking at a big conference in a room of 100 people or whatever. You can talk within your organization. If you're in a place that's got a lot of other people that do your job, do a lunchtime session with them. You don't even have to start speaking as if you're sharing your knowledge and insights. You could start just facilitating a session for people and get that conversation going. And even just that couple of minutes at the front of the room introducing the session lets you dip a toe in the water. It gives you that confidence that you're not going to burst into flames standing talking at the front of a room. If you do want to talk on a topic, I think play to your strengths, play to the things that you know, but also put in the preparation for it, because by nailing down the things that you can control, all of those things that you can't control, will your microphone work, etc., you're minimizing all of those things. You're minimizing the risk and the things that will get you stressed and panicked and worried at the front of a room. So making sure you practice, that you do dry runs with people, that you corral friends and family into sitting and listening to you talk. Because if you've done it a few times, you're going to feel much more comfortable when you come to do it in front of a real audience.
And is this your first time you're doing this, or have you done it many times? Like, when did you first think about stepping up to that level of audience and stage?
So it's my first time doing it in this format, where I'm going to have a room full of people expecting me to gift them wisdom, so it's still quite daunting. I have done, through my volunteering with IIBA, I've done a fair few events, either where I've just been the host of it, or where I've been a speaker, but it's a webinar. Usually can't see the audience there, which can be quite nice. And when it's online, you've got other things around you. You can have your notes easily accessible on screen. That's not quite as easy, I think, face-to-face, where you're likely to be walking up and down at the front of the room. So yeah, this will be a new one for me.
And my big question is, why put yourself through all of this headache and potential risk? Because if things go wrong, how your reputation will be tarnished forever and all that kind of stuff. Why go through all of this?
I think in this instance, it's because I think the subject is really important. I really want to bring more people into our community. I want them to be really active in it. I want more people to feel safe and empowered to give in their community. We get, within the BA world, we get three main groups that get really involved and active. So we get a lot of new and aspiring business analysts, people that are looking to get into the profession or they've just started. And of course, they're hungry for knowledge and experience and they want to learn from others. We get a lot of BA leaders, so heads of practice, team leaders, managers, etc., that are looking for what's the best practice? How's everyone else running business analysis in their organizations? How do you manage teams of BAs? What does good BA performance look like? All of those things, and they want to learn from everyone else. The third cohort, I'd say, I call them BAs in crisis, but it's those business analysts that are thinking, nobody understands what my job is. I'm not empowered to do my role effectively in my organization because no one gets it. I'm the only BA here and I've got imposter syndrome. I'm not convinced I'm doing it right. I need to learn from others in the profession. So yeah, those are the three groups that we do get lots of people of. But most people in our profession don't fall into those groups. They're actually jobbing business analysts that are somewhere in their career. They might be 10 years into being a BA. And they've got on this experience and knowledge that the profession could really benefit from having them share and from connecting them to all of these other groups, to these new BAs, to these BAs in crisis, etc., will really benefit from having those people there. So really, I want to encourage more people, particularly from that cohort of mid-career business analysts, to really start getting involved. So by doing a talk about why it's worth getting involved and how you can do it, I'm hoping I can bring a few of them on board.
Oh, brilliant. And I was thinking about this particular conference. There's a few business analysis conferences that go on throughout the UK and also internationally. What is it about this particular conference that has made you really come out of your comfort zone and share this message? Because you could have gone to any of them.
Yeah, and I'm sure in the future I will also be talking on this topic in other places as well. But yeah, I think this conference is, because of its scale, its reach, I think it's a really good place for me to try and get this message out there. I'm lucky enough through my involvement in the BA community to know quite a few of the other speakers and people involved in this conference as well. So I'm hoping to leverage some of that network to, fight the good fight, really.
I'm also going to be there, so I'm really looking forward to your talk as well, Stu. And I think it is a really nice conference because it's one of those where it's not like thousands of people, right? You're not going to be in this like huge complex. I went to this technology conference recently, which was more like an exhibition really, but it was in London. And I think they had like, I don't know, 4,000 or 5,000 people coming through the doors. And I felt like a little bit of a statistic, if I'm honest with you, because there were just so many people. It was really difficult to really engage with people and have those intimate conversations. But what I love about the European BA conference is the fact that the number is manageable. It's like 500-600 people, which is still a lot. But because you have, I think, as you mentioned, those different groups of people, right? You then can connect with those groups and have a really meaningful conversation. And it's a great location as well because it's right in central London, which is, I think, for anyone coming internationally from around the rest of the world, it's a fairly easy sort of trip into London and to get to. But then also, I think you've got some really high caliber speakers as well. I think for me, that's always amazing. The fact that you've got so many different topics, so many different speakers, and all from around the world as well. So it's a really nice, diverse group of people.
Yeah. One of the things I really like about the BA world is that these fantastic speakers and the authors that write the definitive books on things, they are just people and they're really happy to chat. And they're not in an ivory tower. They're people that will happily connect and talk to anyone in the BA world. And at a conference like this, of course, they're around. You can chat with them over coffee during the breaks and things. And the other thing I quite like is there are different groups like IIBA, like BCS, like the Young Business Analyst group that are all kind of present, in the big hall in the conference. And, between these great talks and workshops and things, you can chat to any of those groups, and they're great at signposting people to different resources or to other groups and strengthening those connections as well. So I find that really useful.
I just remembered a story from last year's conference when I was in the speaker's lounge, and there's a young lady who she was sat there for a good half an hour, and the speaker's room is a quiet space where you can get your thoughts together before you step up onto the stage. And we didn't say a word to each other for a good half an hour. We were both just in our own little zone. And eventually she started to talk to me, and she just asked what my talk was about. And we had some small talk. And then she said to me, I'm neurodiverse. And she said, I find it really overwhelming when there's big crowds of people. And she said, this space here helps me just gather my thoughts and enables me to just get more comfortable. And it was amazing because she did a fantastic talk. She was one of the speakers that did a fantastic talk afterwards. But it really got me to think about, again, the diversity of people that attend these events. Like, I always talk about how much of an introvert I am, and people find that hard to believe, but I am a massive introvert, and I've been that way since I can remember. And so big crowds and lots of things going on around you can be really overwhelming. You can immerse yourself into that environment, and there's always ways in which you can limit how much of the overwhelm you want to take in and not. There's other conferences in the BA world where they throw big celebration parties at the end of the evening, and it's just like a party carnival atmosphere. So it really depends on, I think, what people want to get out from it. And there's always an opportunity, isn't there, to do that?
Yeah, I'm an introvert myself, and I can, I can do big crowds and I can do lots of social interaction. I then need to take a few deep breaths, and it takes a lot out of me, and I then need to recharge. And I think, this conference, it gives you opportunities for both.
Yeah, for sure. And I think there's also, not just this conference, I think most conferences now, they really try to encourage the social element as well. And there's usually evening meals that people arrange, and you get to meet people who have attended the conference from different parts of the world. And I always love those interactions as well, which is always great. And Stu, in terms of some of the other things you do, you've got this awesome blog. Like, I love your blog. I think it's so well written. And again, if somebody wants to contribute to a community, whether it's a BA community or not, tell us about blogging. Like, how do you go about that? And what are some of your tips and tricks? Because you've been doing that for a while.
Yeah, I'll tell you the hardest thing. It's feeling like you've got anything to say that hasn't already been said by better people. Because there are some great minds out there, certainly in the business analysis world, and great minds writing great things and saying great, insightful things. I think something I would say to people wondering whether they might be able to start blogging is think about their own experiences, because that's the thing nobody else has got and no one else is able to say is what's the experience that you've had. And I mentioned earlier about that sort of difference between how business analysis looks on paper when you do the training or when you apply for a job and you look at that job description. That's not what it's like in practice. That gap that you experience when you're working in business analysis, that's something you can really talk about. What did you find hard? What challenges did you face? How did you overcome them? Did you overcome them? I think even just talking about the fact that you found this particular job pretty soul crushing, you weren't able to be an effective business analyst there. That's a story other people would benefit from hearing. Albeit it was painful to go through. There's some value in that, and I think it's worth putting that out there. I do try and make a bit of an argument in some of my blog posts. I don't think I'm particularly controversial, at least not before I've had a few beers, but I wouldn't recommend drinking before writing a blog post. That's not a good idea. But yeah, there are things I think don't work well in the business analysis world, things I'd like to see us more empowered to do. So some of those tend to be topics that I like to look at. I think in our role, getting more involved upstream in the more strategic end of things is something we need more of. Less value in spending lots of time writing user stories if the project should never have got off the ground in the first place. So yeah, a lot of things like that is where I like to spend my time thinking and writing.
I love that. It's almost like a bit of therapy, right? So whatever bee we have in our bonnet, we can vent through a blog, but in a constructive way. Like, that's super cool. I love that. And what have been some of your most popular articles or topics that you've written about?
The ones that get the hits, that get a lot of views, are those that are probably more straightforward, passing on knowledge, just an introduction to this or top 10 of this or whatever. Because as I said earlier, there's this massive cohort of people coming into the profession or trying to come into the profession. And I've seen similar as well when we've run events through IIBA. If it's something that's offering knowledge, there's a massive market for that. I think those slightly more ponderous or analytical posts that I do might not get the same breadth of traction, but they tend to trigger deeper conversations. When I share that blog post via LinkedIn, it'll be those that start getting the chain of comments under them, and I'll then find myself talking about it, at a BA social event or at the brown bag sessions or something like that. So I think, that those get the much deeper engagement.
And I think there's a great tip just there that's hidden away in there, which is whether you write something or you've seen someone else write something on LinkedIn or other social media that seems to get a lot of comments and debate, can sometimes be a good source of inspiration for potential talks at conferences. Because if it's a topic that people are caring about and talking about, it can help give you that extra bit of insight into what people might enjoy at a conference. So as long as you've got a passion for that, I think that's another great way of identifying the sort of topics that you could talk about.
Yeah, I see a lot at the Brown Bag weekly discussion sessions. I've built relationships over time with people there, and you hear those things they're talking about that they've got going on at work at the time, that this particular challenge on a project or something like that. And the group fairly regularly will be like, oh, that'll be a conference talk, because you can see the seeds of those things starting to germinate. And 9 months down the line, you see someone's going to be doing a talk on it.
Oh, brilliant. Well, Stu, we're fast approaching time, and I'm going to ask you one of my favorite questions that I try and ask in every episode. It's a bit of a fun one. So if I could give you a superpower to abolish something in the world of work, so we're going to eliminate this thing, what would that be for you?
To abolish something in the world of work? Bad decision making. Is that too broad?
No, that's absolutely fine.
I've seen a lot of it over the years. But those organizations throw a lot of energy into how they deliver change. So, the amount of work that goes into agile frameworks and product development and managing requirements and backlogs and user stories, all of that. And sometimes that really feels like shuffling the deck chairs, because bad decisions upstream get far less rigor and scrutiny And if people like business analysts were invited more into those conversations early on, life would be so much better for everyone.
Brilliant. I love that. And I think, we're living in a world where people are being forced to make lots of decisions because there's just so much going on. We're living in this crazy world where so much is changing, and you mentioned the word change is everywhere. And I don't envy the job of some of the leaders in these big companies at the moment, because there is just so much to think about right now. So I think that's a great one. Like, how do we abolish bad decision making? Because it has an impact on so many people. So that's a great one. Well, Stu, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate your time and really looking forward to your talk. So good luck with the prep, and just hope it all goes well for you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Paddy. Cheers.
It's the end of another episode. Thank you so much for listening. Please do connect with me via LinkedIn and drop me a message and let me know your favorite takeaways from the episode. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Superpower School newsletter so that you can be notified of all future episodes. Simply visit the website www.superpowers.school. Thank you once again.